Now let's look at dividing terms in algebra. So when we're doing division and we want to put it in an algebraic form, like what we have here, it's a good idea to put it in a fraction form. So rather than using that division notation, try to convert your division into this fraction form like this. Because this one, if you put it in a fraction notation like this, is basically the numerator divided by the denominator. So whatever's on top, it becomes divided by the denominator. So after I put this, the division becomes a whole lot more simple, and I'll show you how. Watch very closely, guys. I'm going to do a bit of separation and expansion. So I'm going to put it into its expanded notation. So first of all, 12, I'm going to change it to 3 times 4. Now this one, a squared, it's 2 a's being multiplied together, isn't it? So I'm going to make it aa, and then the b follows. Now the denominator, 16, I'm just going to make that 4 times 4, and then we have a, b cubed, don't we? B cubed here is 3 b's multiplied together. So it's going to be a, and then the b. I'm not going to bother putting multiplication signs because you don't really need to. If you don't put anything in between, it simply just means multiplication, doesn't it? Now the reason why I chose these certain numbers is because now you can see that there's common factors, 4 and the 4. So, what's 4 divided by 4, guys? It simply becomes 1. So, this one, if I cancel out, it just becomes 1, which doesn't make any difference to the multiplication or the division. So, anything that's the same, it applies for the constant numbers as well as for these pronumerals or variables. So, see how AA, and there's another A here, the A's can actually cross out too. The A divided by A becomes 1 as well, and same with the B's. So, I'll show you what I'm going to do to make it a bit more simple. Just cross out like this. I'm going to cross out the 4's, the A's, and also the B's. Can you see that, guys? So whatever's common on top and bottom, you pretty much cancel out. So the 4 and the 4 cancels, the A's cancelled, and B's cancelled. But look, guys, there's 2 A's on the numerator and only 1 A on the denominator, so that's why you can only cross out one of the A's on top and bottom. And same with the B's. There's only 1 B on the numerator and there's 2 B's on the denominator, so you can only 3 B's on the denominator. You can only cancel one of them because that's the only common part. So you can only cancel the right numbers. That's same on both top and bottom. So now all you need to do now is to write down what's left. So we're left with 3 and an A, and on the denominator we have 4 and then 2 B's. Now 2 B's multiplied together simply makes B squared, so I just simplified that on the denominator as B squared. So trying to leave it in simplest form like I did there. Makes sense, guys? Not too hard, right? Do the crossing out technique after you do the expansion notation, okay? So we'll try some more. Let's do some questions. Starting with question 1, it says simplify 20a divided by 4. Division means we can use a fraction notation, isn't it? So I'm going to change it like the fraction key. So it's 20a divided by 4. Now 20 is same as 4 times 5. So the reason why I chose those numbers is because now you can see 4 is common on both numerator and denominator. So let's cross it out. So what we're left is just 5a. That is simply the answer. So at the end, all you need to do is write down what's left. Alright, 2. Simplify negative 2a divided by 6ab. So write it down in its fraction notation, guys, just like this. And you can see that the 6, I can convert it to 2 times 3, or 3 times 2 rather, if you like. The reason why I did that is because now you can see the 2's are common, so we can cross them out. And you can see the A's also actually cross out too, because they're common on both numerator and denominator. So cross out whatever you can. Doesn't matter if it's a constant, doesn't matter if it's a variable. If they're common, just cross them out. And then just write down what's left. We're left with just negative 1 on the numerator and just 3b on the denominator. Now a lot of people think that because we crossed out everything, there's nothing left on the denominator, which makes 0. Some people think a little bit confusingly, but because we crossed it out, it becomes 1. Yeah, the same thing divided by the same thing becomes 1. So that's why it's 1. And because of that negative, it's negative 1. Alright, so if everything's crossed out, make sure you make it 1. Alright, guys? So that was question 2. Let's do 3 now. Simplify. Okay, we've got the division again. Put it into fraction form. So we've got something like that into its fraction form. And we're going to try to expand it out a bit. We're going to put it into its expanded notation. So the 24, I'm going to change it to something like this, 4 times 6, and then the a cubed, I'm going to make it a, and then the b. Now the denominator, 6, I'm going to change it, just leave it to that 6 because now you can see 6 is common on both numerator and denominator. And then the a squared becomes aa, and you can see the b squared becomes bb as well. Now we put it into its expanded form. Let's cross it out. Let's cross out the common ones. And you can see the denominator, I didn't cross it out any further because it's got 6 on top and bottom already, doesn't it? So now let's cross it out. So we cross 6's and a's and also the b's. So can you see we crossed out the right numbers on top and bottom? So what's left, guys? We're just left with this. 4a on b. Just the 4 and one of the a's left on the top and only one b is left on the denominator. Make sense, guys? As simple as that. Alright, let's move on to question 4. So simplify 24ab divided by 8a divided by b. So there's 3 divisions, which means, well, basically 2 divisions, because we're dividing this by this and then this by this again. So basically you can think of it this way. It's this whole number, 24ab, divided by 8a and b. So we can put the 8a and b both on one single denominator. So it's going to be 24ab over 8a times b. Yes, because both are being divided by this. So, sorry, that is being divided by both of these, isn't it? So I can put both in the denominator. Now let's do a little bit of separations. I'm going to make the 24 3 times 8. Because now you can see that 8 is common on both numerator and denominator. So we don't have to bother changing the denominator 8. Now let's do some crossing, which is the best part, isn't it? So let's cross it out. The 8's get crossed out and also the a's get crossed out. And then the b's. So, what are we left with? We're just left with 3 on the numerator. That's just the answer. There's nothing left on the denominator. Not nothing, there's actually 1 left on the denominator, but 3 over 1 is just 3, isn't it? So we don't bother writing 1 on the denominator. So the answer is simply just 3. Alright, let's move on. This time it says simplify 16a minus 8a squared divided by 3a. So the only division is just this part here, guys. Okay, because we always do the division first. I'm going to change this one to the fraction form like this. So it's like this. Okay, 16a minus the division. I'm going to just change that into a fraction form. Now let's do a bit of expansions. Now 18 is 6 times 3, and then you can see that a squared becomes aa, 2 a's, right? And the denominator is just 3a. Now we can do some crossing. Well, the crossing only applies for this fraction here because this is the division, right? So we can cross out the 3's and we can also cross out the a's, can't we? And that's pretty much left, all that's left. So let's write down what's left on this part, this fraction here. We've got 6 and the a, so we've just got 6a left. Now let's do the subtraction, because you can see that 16a minus 6a, a and a, they're the same. So these are called like terms. So we can just subtract them. So 16a minus 6a will simply be 10a. And that will be the final answer.